All right, we are live now, and thanks to everybody for showing up and joining us here on the Tuesday night talk. I have a very special guest with me tonight, and I'm going to bring her on in just a little bit. We've been backstage visiting, catching up, and her name is Shelley Harris, and she's been a friend of mine for around 20 years or so, and we'll talk about that when I bring her on. But for that, just want to uh, remind everybody that if you would like, you can purchase my books on here as well. Kiamichi Bigfoot, Investigating the Oklahoma Sasquatch, or the Shampe Terror Has a Name. And there are links in the description below, as well as, if you can see it, uh, Bigfoot and More, the t-shirt there. And that's my design there. And there's some of them with my son's design on there if y'all would like to uh, support the channel that way. And just being here is a big support to me, and I appreciate all of you being there. And if you haven't already, like, share, and subscribe. And that being said, I am going to welcome our guest here. Like I said, a longtime friend of mine, Shelley Harris, that worked with me back in the day when I had a website called southernbigfoot.com. And then later she worked on the Travel Channel documentary Bigfoot with me as well. So with that being said, I'm going to bring Shelley on, and y'all give her a big welcome. And here she is. There's Shelley. How you doing,
Hello,
Shelley?
everyone.
Yeah. I tell you, this is the first time that Shelley and I have spoken face to face in nearly 20 years, hasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
You know, it's been a minute. We haven't been completely out of touch. We've texted and changed an email from here now and then as time's going on, but there for a while. Before we worked on Bigfootville, we'll talk about that as well. Shelley worked with, I had a website, as I said, called southernbigfoot.com, which was the website version of the Southern Bigfoot Association, in which we took sighting reports and investigated these sightings. And I investigated mostly the sightings I would get from my area. Shelley was further out west at that time. She would investigate sightings in that area. And we had another individual named Dan Belda. He is, unfortunately, he's passed away, but he was our investigator in the northeast part of the state. So us three, we worked together quite closely there for a while. And then we were all three on the Bigfootville documentary. So, and not only the Bigfootville, Shelley's a very well-rounded investigator into all things mysterious. She was an investigator with MUFON, which is, if I'm saying this right, the Mutual UFO Network.
Yes.
Stands for. And
yes.
She also did some investigations into the paranormal, like ghosts and things like that. But like the rest of us, I think that the Bigfoot mystery kind of had a special place there. And I'm about to turn it over to let Shelley talk a little bit. For that, I want to say anybody in chat that has any questions that they want to ask either me or Shelley, remember, put them in caps. And looks like we got a pretty good crew. Can you see the chat, Shelley, off to the side?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I can't see it.
Huh. Okay. Well, We've got 25 in chat right now. That's a pretty good number to start off with. So another thing I want to, just to start out, give a big shout out to our wonderful moderators. Cashew Gesundheit has superpowers as a moderator. I tell you what, the moderators, as I've said, they're the unsung heroes of all of these podcasts. They keep the bots and the trolls at bay so the rest of us can enjoy our visit. And Cashew, and I think she's the only moderator here at the moment, but you are very much appreciated. So we've got Joe from Western New York Bigfoot Investigation Group. If you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, check it out. He had me as a guest on there last Friday. Nice guy. And we have, again, the one and only, the original Brian Gillen. He's one of my buddies from here and guitar student. Who else we got? We got Patty. Nice to see you, Patty. I already said Joe. David Perkins, another friend of mine. Emerald MC. Chris Kimball. Sean Rush, TAC 1. How you doing? Kansas Squatch. So we got a good crew here. And there's Malcolm. Okay, I got to show this. Malcolm, I saw him today. He just got back from a trip and he brought me a gift. This vinyl Bigfoot carrying a guitar, which I think Bigfoot should play a guitar, but from the commercial I've seen, he gets mad and busts them all over the campfire. At least on the beef jerky commercial. So yeah. We got the BF Bud. We have the Scottish Wild Man, Dirt Naps, and all of that. So anyway, we're going to go on now. And again, Shelley, welcome. I've been looking forward to this ever since we spoke last week.
I know. So, I have too.
So how do we want to start this off? We want to address the elephant in the room, the incident that happened on the bridge so long ago, just to start off with. Okay, let me set this up, okay?
Okay.
So myself, Shelley, maybe Dan Belda was there. My friend Brian Baker, there was a few other investigators. We were investigating this rash of Bigfoot sightings, and we were out in the middle of the woods, and I don't know why this little bridge was there. I mean, it was literally a small creek, and this little footbridge crossed over it. And anyway, Shelley, do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, we were all out there, and I heard something off in the distance, and I was being all serious and, listening and trying to focus my attention of where I was hearing this noise at. And Dave comes up behind me and grabs my ankle and gives me the fright of my life. And I let out a wail. I'm sure I ran everything off for like 20 miles. So, that's, it's like, don't go hunting Bigfoot with Dave because he will grab your ankle.
So, I mean, I guess you thought it was a Bigfoot under the bridge grabbing you by the ankle.
Right. Yeah.
Now, in my defense, I was much younger back then, and I would never do anything like that in the present.
No. Please don't do that now.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And like I said the other day, we're getting to the age where stuff like that could inadvertently cause a heart attack or so. And here's my buddy John Hodges there. We're at here. John, I went on a camp trip with him last year as well, looking into
hello, John.
A Bigfoot deal. He's from down in the southeastern part of Oklahoma as well. And Shelley, let's start this off with what got you interested in the Bigfoot mystery in the first place?
In southeastern Oklahoma in 1982, it was in a January, and it was me and my grandfather and a cousin. We were out haying the cows one evening. Mm-hmm. There was a light snow on the ground, and it was lightly snowing. And my grandpa, he had 30 or 31 acres or something like that, and he had a bunch of cattle. And there's a branch or a creek that runs through this property. Well, anyway, after we got done, and this is around dusk, when we got done, my grandpa turns his old Ford 9N tractor around. He gets down off the tractor And he goes, y'all come here and look at this. So me and somebody else, we jump out of the back of the old hay trailer, and we go look, and I'm on one side, my grandpa's in the middle, and somebody else is on the other side, and we seen him leaned up between two trees watching us hay those cows. And I tell you what, it scared me and the other person so bad, we beat my grandpa back to the house. And this was in 1982. And that's how I got interested in Bigfoot. And I've been looking and searching ever since.
Now, what was looking at you? Can you describe it?
It had a conical shaped head. It was like leaned up between two trees. There was like two big limbs, and then a trunk.
Okay.
And it was leaned up there just watching us. And I remember seeing the top of its head, and it was conical shaped. It didn't move or anything, but it scared the heck out of me and my cousin.
And your grandfather called your attention to it.
Yes, he did. He'd seen it, apparently. He had seen it out there. And, he's like, well, I'm sure he's thinking to himself, I'm going to tell him. And then after we seen it and we all three, got to the house and everything, he told us after that to stay out of the pasture. Don't go down in the pasture. Stay out of the branch. It's like stay. Of course, we were 9 years old,
mm-hmm.
and it's like, you couldn't keep. Kids don't listen, so we'd still, sneak off and go down there and run the branch and catch,
mm-hmm.
Do things that kids, used to do, catch, crawdads and stuff like that. Just country kids. But yeah, he did. He told us to stay out of the pasture and to stay away from that branch after we seen that. And that always stuck with me. And ever since then, Dave, I have been hooked. And it's like, I have, it's like, okay, so there is something else out there, so, and seeing is believing. So,
and that's not the only, if I remember correctly, that's not the only incident involving Sasquatch that your family had on that same property. Am I correct?
Yes. They still come through the area.
Mm-hmm.
We have found tracks. We've smelled them. I've heard them. I heard some weird jibber jabber. It was the weirdest thing. And I wished I had my phone with me that night. I was outside with my dogs, and I heard this jibber jabber, and it was probably about 12:30 at night. It was late.
Mm-hmm.
And it was there was like two of them talking, like communicating back and forth, and I let out a whoop, and everything went silent. I could have kicked myself in the tail for that. So
you say you've smelled them.
Yes.
What would you describe the smell as? And put it all in one question, what about the smell of whatever made you equate that odor with a Sasquatch? Was there other things going on at the same time?
Somebody else had heard whistling. And this was brought to my attention. And anyway, so I spoke with this person about it. And the person said that they had heard, they had heard the strange whistling. And I told, that person, I said, now they have, they have their little signs, their whistling and stuff they do, and it's like, plus, this person, takes care of other animals, and it's like when they're feeding, the other animals, they'll come through after all the animals have eaten, and I guess get what's left in the grain bins or something like that. I don't know. But it's like, and we smell them when they come through, and it smells, it smells like something dead, like something that hasn't taken a bath in like forever or ever. I mean, it's really foul, pungent odor. And it's like when they're coming through, we can smell them, and then when they leave out, that smell dissipates.
Okay.
And it's still going on. It's still going on here. So
Yeah, Shelley, I don't know if you can see can you see the live wire on your screen there
yes.
at the bottom? That's my friend Mark. I investigated some really interesting activity on his place down in southeast Oklahoma before they moved off. But he had a plethora of sightings on his property, and I found footprints of 3 different individual Sasquatch out there looking into that. So
Wow.
that's what his was definitely one of the most interesting cases that I looked into. So I just wanted to bring that up before going on. We got some new people in chat today. There's a few names that I don't recognize in there, so definitely welcome. So going to the, it's been so long ago. How did I or you meet up with me to get involved with the Southern Bigfoot Association? How did that come about? That was before Bigfootville.
Dave, I don't remember, honestly.
Me neither.
I mean, not unless we, bumped into each other out on a location somewhere, or I can't remember. It's been so long. I mean,
I'm thinking it had to be through like an email to the website I had, because that's how I met most people. And for you guys in chat, this was before there was a YouTube or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was all email. We didn't even have, I don't even know that anybody really had videos up, or not like easily like now. We're talking 99 to 2000 to 2001 right there. So basically I just had a website, and I would have sighting reports on it and contact information, and that's the only thing I can figure. But
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been so long ago.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So on the going on here, when we worked together in the Southern Bigfoot Association, in your memory, what was the most interesting case that either you followed up on yourself, or the rest of us all did as a group?
I think the most interesting case for me was when we went out to Central Oklahoma, and you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, we are the old school bunch.
Malcolm, Malcolm, you don't have to be mean about it.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you what though, Malcolm, he's in the same school, so he's not making fun. He's in the same age group as us. And now there's Chris Kimball. He said, yeah, the dial-up days were frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely could be. But yeah, that of course we talk about that. Everybody knows we're talking about the casino footage, and I never say where that was, but I'm not the one that says it, but everybody knows it anyway, just about.
Right.
It doesn't come from me. But that, one thing about that location, though, you ever notice, and I've looked at it over the years going back, there'll be like a summer where there will be a lot of sightings and reports in that area, and then nothing.
Right.
Now,
yes.
To me, it makes sense because there's not that much cover there. There's not much this. So my theory on that is you have a group of these things that pass through there once in a while, and then move on. Because I mean, there's there's not enough cover and stuff there for them to just stay there. There would be loads and loads of evidence, which there kind of was during that period of time.
Yes.
But so anything about it that sticks in your mind that maybe I might have passed over talking about it in the past?
I know we were out there one time, and I don't know. I think you was with us, but it was me and a group of other people that were out there, and we were out there by the railroad tracks, the old railroad tracks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, we seen one out there on those railroad tracks, like off to the side, and I I remember that. And then us finding some tracks out there. When I had gone out there another time with some other folks. But gosh, it's been so long ago.
Yeah, some of that stuff sticks in your mind though.
Yeah.
Now the part you're talking about with the railroad tracks, I think that was before, because I remember coming out there, me and my friend Brian Baker come up with me, and we went out and set up on those railroad tracks. And I think we went there because you and that other group had that sighting on those tracks there.
Yeah.
So we said, of course, when we was there, we got some interesting possible vocalizations that consisted of mostly a weird whistling noise out there, but we didn't see anything.
There's times where we'd go out there and I take my kids. I mean, and we would just sit and listen, and I mean, you could hear whoops. I mean,
that was a common thing out there with the whoops.
Yes. And then there was another person that was with us. He did a owl call. And I do not know if it was an owl that responded or a Bigfoot. I don't know. But, so I don't know on that. So, but we've heard whoops out there, definitely, and found tracks and seen that one out there on the tracks. So, yes.
Okay. I'm returning a text here real quick. Okay. So then, did you ever go up to the Grand Lake area?
No.
You didn't make it up there. Okay.
No, did not make it up there.
That was me and Dan and all of those.
Yeah.
Okay, and then of course there was the documentary we all worked on together, which is Bigfootville, and of course, that was, most of y'all, if y'all's been following my channel for very long, kind of know the story of that, how the producer Bruce Burgess, got in contact with me and basically I agreed to help him with that and introduced him to some people, introduced him to Shelley, and but what a lot of people don't know, of course they wouldn't have any reason to know, there were a lot of things that were filmed that did not quite make it to the finished product, because it had to be whittled down to a 1 hour show, and probably not that much when you consider making time for commercials and such as that. But Shelley was on a part of it and shared an old sighting report of hers. And did you have some track casts that you brought down and shown too?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
yes, I did. In the beginning of Bigfootville, the part where they're showing the casts, the tracks that were casted, some of those were the ones that I'd found and casted, tracks that I'd found and casted.
I thought they were. Where were those from?
Those were from out in western Oklahoma. And there was one that we had found out there at Central, Oklahoma.
Central, no kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's interesting. But yeah, on one part of that show where we're down in, actually not far from my house, actually not more than 5 miles from my house, where the two brothers were talking about the sighting where the Sasquatch come across the field on a moonlit night and just stepped over the barbed wire fence.
Yes.
So when we were doing that, Shelley and a couple of others were up the road looking around this old house. So you remember that? They split us up there, and I don't remember if they were filming you guys there or not. But I mean, there were like two different cameramen. I remember that, and sometimes they would go different directions. But yeah, that was very fast paced. And when they got there with that, it was film here, jump in the vehicles, go to this location, and
right. Yes.
And I guess
we went out on one location, and I can't remember where it was, but I believe one of the other fellows that's no longer with us was with us at the time. I remember him. I remember talking to him, and you know who I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He passed in 2021.
Oh, you mean Tim?
Yes, he
Tim
was with us.
Yeah.
Yes,
Tim Harjo. He was a good friend.
Yes,
good guy.
And he was with us, and I remember, I think we had a fire going or something, and he was, we was listening to him talk, and I mean that was very very interesting, to hear him talk about, the Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
Yeah, Tim was an interesting individual. And matter of fact, my first book, which is fictional about a Choctaw legend, anytime I had a question on a Choctaw word for something, he was my go-to. And Tim, he could speak Chickasaw and Choctaw, which are very similar languages, but he could also speak Seminole. So He was just Tim, he had a real sense of humor, and he liked to clown around, which that was just him. He was just a real happy-go-lucky individual. But when it got serious, and you wanted to know something serious about native folklore and his tribes and such as that, he had a great deal of knowledge in that. And I'm fortunate to have more than a few friends that are privy to good information like that. And this guy here, Chris Kimball, not to stroke your ego, but I think Bigfootville is one of the best Bigfoot documentaries.
Thank you.
So that's I do appreciate that, and I'm sure Shelley does too.
Yes, thank you very much. It's one of my favorites. So
yeah, but we're kind of prejudiced a little bit since we were part of it, but I will tell you this: Shelley was filmed on more things than actually made it onto the finished product. But of course, I was too. But like I say, they had to. I was thinking they should have made a 2-hour or 2-part deal on that. Now, David Perkins here. Remember those scenes of Tim by the fire? Reminds me of sitting with my family late at night by the fire telling stories. David, the part by the fire that you're talking about, that was actually at a tribal elders home over by somewhere between Seminole and Wewoka over there. That was a Seminole tribal elder right there, and I did not know him personally. That was one of Tim's friends that he went and spoke to there. And Yeah, and my friend David Perkins there, I'd like to have him as a guest on this podcast sometime if he would like to. Yes, Chris, I need to sit down with you sometimes, tell some Florida Seminole stories. I would be very interested in that, Chris. And I tell you, now, Shelley, you're, am I right, Choctaw?
Choctaw Cherokee. So
Cherokee and Choctaw, like the song.
Like oh yeah,
that
yeah.
Song, Indian Outlaw, Cherokee and Choctaw.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Now, of course, are you familiar with much of the folklore from those?
Not a lot. No, not a lot. So I mean, I just kind of did my own thing, and when it come to looking for Bigfoot or just going out and sitting and listening to see what you could hear or see. Got to be at the right place at the right time, and you just never know.
Yeah, that is true.
You just never know. And I mean, and that's like that evening, we was out haying the cattle. I mean, we didn't know anything was down there, and I never, of course, heck, we were 9 years old, and it's like we seen it, and we're like, okay, and then, woo. Of course, we were kids, and it's like, it spooked us pretty good,
Well, I would imagine.
But
and there's Brent from the Tall Ones. Check out Brent's YouTube channel as well. He's from up Washington State. Makes me jealous every time I see him up hiking in the Cascades up there. But Shelley, that one you saw when you were 9, you and your family members there, how do you have any recollection of the size of it that it would have been?
I want to say it was probably between 6.5, maybe 7 feet tall. Yeah, I mean,
just looking back,
it didn't move or run off or anything like that. I mean, shoot, we ran off before it. I'm sure.
You're right.
So.
And I've been watching here. I wonder how often any of us are out in the deep woods, just going about our business, camping or whatever, that we are being observed. Or anybody that just has no idea and never knows they're being observed. Right. I've been watching Kerry Arnold, who has a Bigfoot Odyssey. He has texted me, and I don't know if he's released them all to the general public, some pictures that he's taken of the woods with this really neat lens he's got that'll just dig in the night and pull out color pictures. And I told him, I said, my gosh, I wonder how often that I've been down in the Kiamichi Mountains that one of these things have been watching me that I didn't know. And he's like, well,
that's right.
Probably more times than you realize, and
yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
So
that's like, when we go out, at, our place, it's like, I'm always watching the trees, the tree lines, and stuff around here. So, and pretty much everywhere. Because you just never know, know what's watching or observing or anything, and I mean it's always good to do that, just kind of be aware of your surroundings, and but it's like I don't fear them, it's like they're not going to come breaking your house or anything like that. They're not going to do that. I mean, it's, and I've heard some stories as to where people have said, they've, seen them peeking in the windows and stuff like that. But I mean, I myself have never witnessed or experienced anything like that. I've always seen them like, tree lines and out in, fields or what have you.
There's a good segue to a question that I always ask all of my guests eventually. somebody backs you in a corner and says, okay, if you just had to answer, what do you think that these things are? And let me narrow it down.
Okay.
More like the old scientific community say, well, they're remnants of an extinct ape. Do you believe they're closer related to us, maybe even a type of human? Or
I think, okay, this is just my beliefs. This is what I believe. Okay. I believe that they are is there a seasonal relationship to the encounters?
I just put that up so I wouldn't go past it. You can go back and finish your statement there if you want to.
Okay. My beliefs are, and this is what I believe myself, I believe that they are a flesh and blood creature of this earth. Okay. I really do. I do not think, I don't think that they're aliens or they come from UFOs or anything like that. I do not believe that.
Okay.
I just think that they're a flesh and blood creature of this earth, like an undiscovered species of animal, you know, that could be related to humans. Mm-hmm. But then again, I mean, nobody knows, you know. So.
Okay, now this question for Shelley: was there a seasonal relationship to the encounters?
Yes. Which encounters? The ones here.
The ones you were mentioning, yeah.
Southeastern Oklahoma is like winter, spring, you know, like late spring, and then around the summertime as well. So I mean, you know, we've smelled them, you know, I mean, so they just pass through, you know. I mean, and it's like I'm not going out there chasing after them or anything like that.
Right.
It's, as long as, you know, they don't, you know, try to harm me or my family or, mm-hmm. you know, our dogs or anything like that, livestock or anything. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna bother them. I mean, no.
And I think I was talking about this on a Western New York Bigfoot investigation group show the other night. And it might have been somebody in here, but the words aggression versus defensiveness. Because, you know, people say, oh, down in the South, the Bigfoots, man, they're very aggressive. They're very this and that. But in my investigating into these, the places where a Sasquatch has shown some type of, quote, aggression, they were generally shot at or shot first. And to me, that would be more of a defensive thing, because the vast majority of these that I've looked into is like your sighting you were talking about. They were seen hiding, watching, observing,
right.
You know, and we had a good point, Don. If Bigfoot had windows with indoor lighting at night, I'm sure we would all be peeking in their windows at night.
Yep. Yeah.
Never know. Western New York. Let me get up here. Joe up there at Western New York says offshoot of Homo erectus is my guess based on what I saw. And Joe had, if you watch his YouTube channel, he goes into depth on his encounter. He had a very close face-to-face encounter with the Sasquatch up there in New York State, up in the Joe, I don't remember if you're up close to the Adirondacks or what, but I mean, he actually could see facial features and had an artist recreate it, and that was not a monkey's face that he saw. It was very, very human-like.
Right.
But my theory, if you will, is I believe that if the native legends of them actually producing an offspring with a human that they have legend up in the Pacific Northwest is true, they would have to be a type of a human in order to create offspring with a human. Allegheny Mountains, Joe put there is where that was.
Wow.
This goes back to you, Shelley. So it was a bit broad-based, no relationship to food harvesting. That's to you. Can you read that?
Yeah. Can you explain broad-based?
Well, not necessarily just one season, I believe she's saying. She was saying that, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're, they come through anytime. I mean, it's, it can be anytime they come through,
Yeah, I think they're highly nomadic. I mean, just kind of moving here to there, because any thing, especially of that size, in a family group that stayed in one location for months and months at a time, would leave tons of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just think they're hunter-gatherers.
Right.
I think the evidence points to that.
I do too. We have lots of persimmon trees, and we'll have, like, in the branch, we'll have like little minnows. I mean, they're little bitty, Then we have snapping turtles, of course, and snakes, So it's like, I mean, they come through, and I mean, I'm sure they come through, and a lot of times we wouldn't even know it, I mean, so.
Yeah, I think probably 99% of the time that any of these things are around, they go unnoticed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like being in the right place at the right time. Here's a good point. Not one season. For me, it seems there's more activity during the walnut drop in my area.
Oh, wow.
And,
okay.
I had a report here recently that happened not far from where I'm at right now, of a person observing at night and by a street not too far from a security light out there, of a larger one and a smaller one picking up pecans out from under a tree by their house.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
That is
wow. Yes.
That's actually very recent, like within the last 2 or 3 years.
Wow. So. Yeah, we have pecan trees on our land, and blackberries, wild blackberries.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, there's a variety, I mean, but I mean, they don't bother the livestock or anything like that. But I mean, the livestock, they know when they come through, because they're always looking. They'll turn and look. Or if they hear something, they'll turn and look. You know how livestock does. So
right.
But I mean, yeah.
And so, David Perkins says, on the move, following the food, perhaps like many Indians used to do. Yeah, hunter-gatherers.
Hunter-gatherers. Yes, absolutely.
Which makes sense. I mean, you forage here and then move on. That place recovers, regains that stuff. By the time you make it back through, it's regrown. You're not destroying or overgrazing an area. Now, like I say, anybody in chat that has a direct question, please put it in caps. I'll try to get everyone. I don't want to miss anybody, and I'm sure Shelley doesn't either.
No, I don't want to miss anybody.
Here we have a curious cryptid whose name is Steve. I like the term "based on what I saw." For a long time, we thought the dire wolf was a kind of wolf because of what we saw. I don't know if I'm reading that right. Based on what I saw. Yeah. Otherwise, not reading too much into it.
Right.
At a creek where people often manage to see a surprise one. I seem like I missed one up here. Just a second. Let's see, can you? He's talked about it on a few different videos. Joe, if you see that and have a direct link that's particular with your encounter, if you want to pop it in there, you're welcome to do so. Or if Cashew finds it and throws it up there. But yeah, it's a very interesting encounter story. And you know, like I said, when we started, yeah, there's another deal there. Many tribes were familiar with large swaths of land that they spent their lives traveling for generations. I think Bigfoot can be similar. Yeah, that's very possible.
I think, okay, this is what I believe with our, our place here. I think that, and I could be wrong, I think that, since they're, the one that we seen back in 1982, coming through, and they've come through this area a long time. I think they could be like family, like generations of family that pass through the same area as their ancestors did.
Yeah,
it makes sense in what I said.
And it does. It makes sense, and something that I've always considered and wondered about is the lifespan of these things. How long do they live?
Right.
And of course, in my book, I made them an extremely long-lived creature that we don't know, but that's something too. Because you have. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
My question is do they bury their dead? Because I mean,
or do something with them.
I'm sorry.
That I think that's very possible that they dispose of their dead.
Yeah. That's one thing that I've always kind of wondered about it too. It's like do they bury their dead? Like we do our dearly departed. That's I've always been perplexed by that question. It's like
Well, it would explain why we have not found one.
Right.
A dead one.
Right.
But again, goes back to how closely related to humanity are they? I mean, we know archaeologically, looking back at say Neanderthal, that they buried their dead. They believe they had some form of religion because of like the different colors of ink and stuff that they found in some of these burial things that kind of lend to like maybe they were preparing them in some form of ceremonial a way to do that. And I know, especially among and this is not making fun of anybody, but it's been brought up, the thing now about the Sasquatch being offshoots of the Nephilim or something like that. That's not where I go with it, but somebody was saying like, if you want to get rid of the Sasquatch, rebuke them in the name of Jesus. And of course, me having a sense of humor, I do. I'm like, well, what if they're not Baptist or whatever? And I was just being silly, but then I got to thinking, well, if they're that closely related to us, as highly intelligent as we believe they are, do they perhaps recognize some higher power, have any kind of religion or superstitions of their own?
Right.
And that's just thinking out loud. That's not me saying that they do, but I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can think about.
Well, I've always wondered, too, are they like a part of the missing link? That links, like people, like humans to the great apes. I mean, I've questioned that too. So, you know.
But the more we find out is, I love it. Wait a minute. Maybe Bigfoot rebukes humans.
That's probably why they stay away. They try to stay away from people. I mean, I don't know.
Chris, that is golden.
Yes, it is.
You know what? I'm going to use that, but I promise I will give you credit for it every time I do. Maybe Bigfoot rebukes humans. That's a good point. Emerald MC, another good film is Exist. Made me question, do they make nests? There's so many mysteries about it.
Yes,
that's why, if anybody has theories or whatever, just throw them out there. I'm not going to make fun of you, whether I agree with it or not. I want to hear it.
This is what I think on that is that, how many times, Dave, have we gone out and we'll be like walking through the woods or something like that. And it's like, you might come across like a stick formation or like a nest, like a bedding, that, it is impossible for someone to be out there with bare feet. Right. And I'm talking a human being to be out there with bare feet making these nests. That's a very good point, Emerald. Thank you. So, yeah.
Curious Cryptid says, I will say I'm sure they do not portal their dead to another plane of existence. I'm willing to be wrong, but I consider that to be so far outside the reasonable as to be pretty safe to say. Yeah, I may too, but I like where he said I'm willing to be wrong. That's, and I've said many times, the opinions that I give myself, that I actually throw out there as my opinion, are simply based on my observations.
Right.
And I know me and Shelley talked. She's got some theories about some other things that we're not getting into here. That
no,
I'm not there on it, But at the same time, I can be wrong. So I'm definitely not going to ridicule anybody for
no, absolutely
exploring
not.
that. So
no.
Let me see here. Will Star Mysteries. Yeah, Will Star. This fella here, I'll give a shout out to Will Star. If you guys have not checked out his YouTube channel, Will Star, and I want to have him on my show here in the next few weeks, hopefully. He does something very unique, at least to the extent he does it. He will give these old historical reports and actually Google Earth and go to the area where those historical reports reportedly had taken place, and it just gives a whole new feel to what you're doing there. Of course, I don't Google Earth the stuff I'm investigating because I don't want a bunch of people piling in there and scaring the Sasquatch off. But the ones he's doing, like the Ape Canyon incident, or the old report Teddy Roosevelt gave in Wilderness Hunter and stuff, he'll pull that in the Google Earth and bring that up. And he even did a report on the Patterson film location and pulled up Bluff Creek there. So that's very, very interesting. And he's really grown his channel just leaps and bounds on that.
In the book, excuse me for interrupting, Dave.
No, go ahead.
About Teddy Roosevelt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of his books, and it's like this thick. Okay, it's super thick, and he talks about an encounter where two guys. I believe this happened in British Columbia, somewhere off up there, up north.
Are you talking about
Bowman?
Idaho.
No.
Yep. Bowman was Idaho.
Bowman was Idaho?
Bowman was Idaho.
Real okay. Okay.
There was somebody that did a documentary, and they actually put that in British Columbia, and I'm like, they did not do their research. That took place in
Okay.
Idaho.
Okay. And well, in the book, it states that it happened in like what was that? They called it the Mountain Devil or something like that, and that they were being stalked by this, by something. They couldn't tell what it was. And then I believe it was Bowman went back to go check the fish, the
Beaver
fish nets, or
traps. Beaver
yes,
traps.
beaver traps, yes. And when he came back to camp, something had killed his partner,
Yeah.
the guy that was left there at camp. Yeah.
And let me quote this because my good buddy up here, Brian Baker, said he always recites this. When he came back, he found his friend dead with a broken neck, stressed out, with some teeth marks on his neck, and it looked as if some foul thing had, quote, romped and gamboled over his body in uncouth, ferocious glee.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Here's a interesting thing right here, Shelley. Along with friends, discovered what can only be described as a Wicca glyph, a circle broken in thirds with grasses in one, nuts in the other, and berries in the last section. So that's interesting. So I don't know what a Wicca glyph is. I'm assuming you're talking about Wicca as in WICCA, like the religion, like the pagan religion Wicca, probably. Cashew Gesundheit. Once I saw a flying silver disc in broad daylight. It sort of changed what's possible in my mind. Can't hear you. Hello, Shelley? There you are.
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. Your voice went out. Cashew says, once I saw a silver flying disc in broad daylight, sort of changed my mind on what's possible. Assuming that, Shelley, you were a investigator in MUFON.
Yes.
At one time. So, is there any really interesting things that you captured while you were in that?
Me and a friend of mine, we were out walking one evening, and this was in central Oklahoma area years ago. And we seen a triangular shaped craft the size of a city square block or larger.
Now, you saw a
triangular shaped craft?
Okay, so you saw it.
Yes. Me, my friend did, because we was out walking with my kids. And anyway, we ran back to the house, and this happened like back in the late 90s. We ran back to the house, and we jumped in my truck, and it's like we followed it. We followed it like all the way down to Southwest 15th. I mean, way off out there in the middle of nowhere. And finally, it's like it just went up in the air and it just took off. I mean, there was no sound of this at all. And it's, if I remember correctly, I reported that to someone else that was in the UFO research that community. I was in. And if I'm not mistaken, that sighting was published in the UFO magazine back then. Yes.
Yeah, and
yeah. So I mean, and I asked some other friends of ours back then. I'm like, did y'all happen to see anything? And they're like, no. And I mean, this craft was hovering like right above our neighbor's house across the street, and it just turned south, and it started taking off. And I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I was like, oh my God. I told my friend, I'm like, come on, let's go. So we jumped in my truck and we took off. And but we followed it until we lost sight of it. Yeah.
And in case anyone here doesn't know, you don't just join MUFON. You have to
No.
like that. You have to be vetted.
Yes, you have to do now. You have to do they do a thorough background check.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, we had to take this test. They send you a book. You take the test. It's very, very difficult. Well, back then it was, and then you have to attend the monthly meetings. They have like a monthly meeting, like once a month. It's like, and it's like you have to stop what you're doing and you have to go to those meetings.
Wow.
So yeah.
I put this up here. This, if you see it down there, Western New York Bigfoot. He said, "I've never seen a UFO. I should probably look up more." But I want you to notice the avatar on the side of that. If you can see it, Shelley, it's got that face right there. Can you make out the face?
I can't really see it.
Anyway, that's the artist rendition of the face of the creature that he saw, and it's very much human. Let me see here. And if anyone's got hey, Mid-South, anybody got a question for Shelley regarding a UFO or something like that, just put it in caps. It doesn't necessarily just have to be about Bigfoot. Now, you guys have just met Shelley. And she may not say it, I will. She is an incredibly interesting individual. And I've sat down and talked to her in the past, and I've got my mind blown a few times, So, wow, Will, thank you. I appreciate that. That is, especially with the cost of gas now, that is appreciated.
Yes.
Oh, man. Yes. So, absolutely.
Dave, I will say this: there are other things out there. Okay,
mm-hmm.
in our realm, in our dimension, and it's like I do not know how they get there. It's like and I've experienced a lot of stuff. I've seen things that I can't explain, and I've seen things that will haunt me for the rest of my life. And it's like where they come from. Nobody knows. And I'm talking paranormal. I'm talking, some other things that I've told you about.
Right.
And I will not say because I won't do it. But it's like, I seen a flying fireball over Yukon one time. Yes.
And also,
yes, I did. But back to what I'm saying is that there are things out there that, people are not aware of. People, they think, well, these things don't exist, well, that's their beliefs. That's their beliefs. I'm not trying to push my beliefs off on anyone, not at all, none whatsoever. But it's like, people need to be more aware of their surroundings when they are out and about, especially in the woods or anywhere like in a wooded area, on land or anything. Beware of your surroundings.
And guys, she's very serious. You heard her tapping the desk. So on that. But and that goes without saying. I've got a friend here, one of my best friends here in town. He doesn't believe in the Bigfoot stuff. He said, I've been in the woods where you go all the time, and I've never seen anything like that. My answer to him was, well, I can't help it. You just don't pay attention when you're in the woods,
Right.
And,
right.
But I think eventually, if you're investigating a subject intently for a long enough period of time, and you're out there, and I'm not talking about just doing research from behind your computer or something. I mean,
right.
Going out, I think eventually, you may not see a Bigfoot or a UFO, but you're going to come much closer to, actual evidence than those are not. Here's a Mid-South said, I've got a video of some crafts going into a cube-like structure in the sky. Now
Wow.
that,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Have you released that video at all, or is it anywhere we can see it? Because I would sure like to see that. But the flying fireballs, I remember my grandfather talking about back in the 40s, they were out working on the farm, and this big ball of fire, he said it came out of the sky, went low over the trees, and went over the trees on the other end and disappeared. And they went out looking for it. They thought it could have been some kind of a aircraft and it was on fire and crashing, but they never found anywhere where it hit. Of course, what he was describing, it could have been what they call, ball lightning.
Right.
Because he didn't, like somebody on here said they saw a fireball make a 90-degree turn. Well, that would, I think, rule out a ball lightning there. But
no, when the one that we saw was at night, and we were driving towards Piedmont, or not Piedmont, Yukon. I forget what road that is out there. I haven't been out there in a long time. Mm-hmm. But it's like we seen it at night, and it's like one of the ladies that used to work someplace that I knew her. I won't say any names or anything like that, but she told me that she and her fiance seen the same thing like a month before. I'd seen that one, and talking about round discs like flying saucers. Years and years ago, I was told this story by someone, and he told me he was an older gentleman. He was up in his years, and he said that he was out on his farm out around Longdale and Canton in that area.
Okay. And
he said that he was out there like discing the field, plowing the field or whatever it is they do. And anyway, he said that he seen a disc. He went down and he saw this disc like hovering above the trees. And he said when he came back around and made another whole round, he said it was gone. And he said there's no telling how long it had been there watching him, or just hanging out there. So, I mean, and this is from someone that told me this. He was very credible. He had told me some other stories as well. I won't get into that in this show. I mean, I could talk for hours, y'all. Trust me.
Yeah, well, we might have to have you on again sometime.
I mean, it's but I mean, some of the stuff that he told me that it's like, I mean, it's just it's phenomenal. And I mean, he told me this, and I was like, my jaw was like, wow.
If anybody ever has a question of why I chose to call this channel Bigfoot and More, you're getting a little bit of that tonight. Because Shelley knows a bit about Bigfoot, but also some more. And I've got a couple I don't want to bypass here. There's Cashew says, I saw a flying fireball in the desert of Arizona while driving from Phoenix to Flagstaff as it was getting dark. Looked like a basketball on fire, disappeared into the hills, fell to the ground.
Mm-hmm. That Cashew, that is like what I seen going over Yukon that night. It looked like a giant basketball, and
we're starting. I know you can't see it, Shelley, but we're starting to get some questions for you adding up here. So there's a good one there from Will Star. Can you from your phone see the question, Shelley?
Yes, I see that. And Will Star, I do believe that. I believe that the transistor radio came into play after the Roswell crash happened. I do believe that. That's where we got that technology from, and fiber optics. So yes, your answer to that question is yes. Yes.
Well, here's a big one.
Cattle mutilations. I have seen Tammy. That's my sister. Hey. She gave me the Bigfoot cup here. She got me that.
I'm jealous.
And she takes, she looks out for me on my Bigfoot stuff. And the cattle mutilations, yes. I do think that there's something there. I have seen horse mutilations. I went and did an investigation on that. And I will not say where or anything like that. But it literally, I mean, and this is graphic, it literally ripped the hide off of its sides on both sides. So, and its tongue was gone and its ears was gone. But I mean, the guy said that it had been there for like, 3 or 4 days. And I'm thinking, okay, well, coyotes, scavengers come through. Scavengers come through and, they'll forage on stuff like that. But yes, cattle mutilations. Yes, I do believe that some of that is alien related. That's just my beliefs. But I also believe that there are people of higher power involved in that as well.
So my question's always been about the cattle mutilations.
Mm-hmm.
Undoubtedly, that's some weird stuff.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
What I've always pondered is why.
That I do not have the answer for. I mean, it's like, why do they take their udders, their reproductive organs, their eyes, their tongues, their ears? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So here's one, and this is for me. When you were in MUFON, and I'm assuming you would go out and interview people that had experiences. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever interview anyone in relation to like the alien abduction phenomena?
I cannot answer that.
Okay. Okay, then. Let's see. So, anyone else? Questions? Here's right down the river. This is Bigfoot Bud Cashew. One I seen was close, right down the river we were fishing on, going slow, then turned 90 degrees and shot off in a flash. So, yeah. And the UFO thing, that's something I've always been interested in, but not to the not to the extent that I am in like Bigfoot. I wouldn't even know how to. I guess it's like this with like Bigfoot. Somebody says they see one, you can go to that location and look for evidence on the ground. Maybe they're still hanging out, but it was like a UFO. Somebody sees a UFO in the sky, you can, unless it landed and left some kind of physical evidence, what can you really gather? I guess am I making sense there?
Repeat your question again. I'm sorry.
Not really. Like on a Sasquatch, if we get a report that somebody saw a Sasquatch, say, at their home, looking at them, like you saw when you were a child, looking behind a tree.
Yeah.
You can go down there. You can look for physical evidence for footprints, hair samples, maybe even a sighting there. But if somebody says, well, I saw a UFO in the sky and it looked like this, what really can you do beyond that? Because there's not physical evidence left there.
Right. Okay. There was no landing or anything like that.
Right. Just I
mean,
saw
but
this and it was neat.
Then, I mean, if there was a landing, you would have to do soil samples, grass samples, you know, any kind of vegetation. You know, like say if it was, I seen one and it was hovering above some trees. I will not say where I seen this, but me and two other people seen this. And it's like after, and it was rectangular shaped, and it looked like something. It looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. I mean, it was crazy, and we heard it, and we was in a backyard.
I'm not trying to interrupt your flow. I'm just putting it up there so I don't lose it.
And it's like, you know, and we heard it, and we heard like this loud. It was like a loud whirring noise, and I thought the neighbors was like running like a what do you call a leaf blower.
Oh,
that's
really?
That's kind of like what it sounded like. And so, and I'm like thinking, okay, well, I'm gonna go get my phone, and then something told me no, and it turned, and it went west, and it was gone. And it was rectangular shaped, and it had like red lights on the sides where the ends were. And I mean, yeah.
I just gotta say before we went on tonight, I told Shelley, I said, now if somebody asks you a question regarding UFO stuff or whatever that you don't want to answer, just say that you don't want to go there. Guess who's the first one to ask one of those questions? Me. So anyway, here's a question for you by Bigfoot Buddy. Where would Shelley go to hunt Bigfoot if she could pick one place? Very good question.
I won't tell you.
Okay.
Won't tell you. Sorry.
Let's see. Let's see here. I thought I saw another. Here's a question for Shelley. I'm sure this is about the Bigfoot thing. What does she think about the $3 million bounty on whoever traps a Bigfoot?
I think that is the biggest crock, excuse my French, of shit that I have ever seen or heard.
And potentially dangerous.
And very dangerous. You know, if they're not bothering, you know, if they're not causing you or your family or your pets harm, why mess with them? And I mean, yes, I understand. You know, it's like, well, we've got to have a body on a slab to prove their existence. Well, if you do that, you're killing the mystery. You know, it's like, and I understand, you know, the science and all this stuff. I understand all that, but it's like, I would never hunt them to kill them or anything like that. It's like, no, it's like,
well,
now,
and
like I said earlier, if they're messing with my family, you know, my dogs, I mean, anything like that, it's like, hey, you know, something's going to happen. But
right.
I mean, they're no.
And when I say it's potentially dangerous, I'm not saying it's potentially dangerous to the Bigfoot. I'm saying it's potentially dangerous because this is a supposed Bigfoot trapping. So in my mind, I'm envisioning it's like, okay, how long is it before somebody digs a pit and puts punji sticks or something in the bottom of it and cover it, and somebody walks and falls into it or something?
Exactly. And who's to say
it's like
already? It's
a publicity stunt. That's all it is, but it's a very ill thought out one.
Yes.
And my opinion, of course, okay, politicians are in the public realm, so they're free game. I think any politician that would introduce something like that is not fit to be in office.
I agree.
But you know what? That's not even singling anybody else because very few of them are fit to be in office anyway.
Yeah,
that's as far as I'll go with that. But
right.
Anyway, that is a potentially dangerous.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's did you work much out in the Phoenix out I-8 to California with me, Fawn? I don't know where that area is. So
No, I didn't.
We probably all look the same to Sasquatch. They would retaliate indiscriminately. And here's another thing. Going back to what we think Sasquatch are.
Mm-hmm.
Say some Billy out here gets his rifle and he goes out there like on that silly show on TV, killing Bigfoot or whatever it is. Kill one. Turns out the DNA shows that it is a type of human. Guess what they're guilty of? Murder.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not in the camp that's going to get me a gun and kill me a Bigfoot.
No.
It's not me.
No.
If it's trying to get me or my kids or something, yeah, that's a different story. But
right. But I mean, if it's just out, foraging or whatever, no. Mm-mm.
Malcolm makes a good point here. He said, I don't think there's ever just one by itself, so be ready to deal with a whole group. And I know there's one area down there in southeast Oklahoma where there's a group of people actively were trying to kill one. And I'm like, I would not want to be in that area with a small group of people when they did, because I don't know what your chances of getting out of there would be.
Right. That's what I was going to say. It's like, can you imagine the retaliation from the Sasquatch? I mean, I would not want that wrath. I really wouldn't. I mean,
I actually know of, and I can't really elaborate on it, but of one person that supposedly had one in its sights. And I may hopefully get this person on here eventually, but what he saw in his sights and at that distance was looking right back at him in the dark, and he was way far from it with night vision, and the thing was looking right at him, and he decided that was not for him, and quit it right then. So listening to him, if I get this person on the show and he wants to share that, I mean, it literally listening to him recount that made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. I was like,
yeah.
So anyway, let me see if I'm missing any questions. There was a few of them popping up there. Shelley's got her Sasquatch hunting dog there.
Yeah. This is lucky.
Yeah, that's one thing historically that it doesn't seem like Bigfoot and dog like each other very good or very much.
No, I don't think they do.
This guy here may have a point. He said hunters that became part of the missing 411 likely tried to take that shot.
That's true.
You may be right, Yeah. Here's another Shelley question here. Does Shelley think there are different types of Bigfoot in different areas of North America? If so, how many different types? And that's a question that's been posted by different people.
In North America. Okay. I think there are probably at least, like the Yeti. And
you're talking about the Yeti over in Asia.
Yeah.
Or I think
Nepal. Nepal is what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, Métis, Yeti.
I don't know. It's very possible. It's very possible there could be, but I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, Yeah,
people have talked about maybe the ones being in the deep south being a little different descriptions than the ones reported in the and it could be Will, it may not be necessarily different species as much as it is just, I mean, look at people, we tend to be Even native tribes like the native tribes from, say, the plains look different than the native tribes down further into like Mexico and South America.
Right.
You know, you had some native tribes that were tall and slender, and others that were shorter, like the Apache and stuff down there. So they're still all Native Americans, but they're different peoples.
Yeah.
Maybe within the Sasquatch, just being from different areas of North America with different food sources, different and all that, maybe they just developed differently. That's a possibility.
Right.
I mean, there sure is a wide range of people, you know.
Yeah.
We come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and all. So they, you know, they may be very similar among depending, of course, on how widely dispersed they actually are, you know. So
right.
The Yeti are in the Himalayas. Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, the Yeti, most of the descriptions of that seems to be much more ape-like than what's reported over here.
Right. Yep. I've heard that. Yep.
Mel says, unfortunately, I don't think it will ever be publicly discovered unless a body is presented publicly. It won't be me though.
Right.
Yeah, you may be right. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions regarding Sasquatch, UFOs, or the Sasquatch is, let's see, it's Mid-South. I'm just going back, make sure I didn't pass anybody. I really do my best to get to everybody's questions on here. I don't want to pass anybody up. But yeah, Malcolm's point earlier about may not be just one by itself, you know. I would
right.
Tell you extremely. Let's see. So
I believe they have families, or you know, this is just what I believe myself. I believe they have families, clans, you know. I mean, so I'm sure they have like an elder, and you know.
There may be.
So I mean, that's what I believe though.
So Mid-South, I don't, and forgive me here, I think your name's Joe too. He said, we all believe there are 4 different species of Sasquatch in the United States. And I don't know who the all you're speaking about. Is that your a particular research group that you're talking about there? But anyway, I'll just say Mid-South has put it out there. He believes there are 4 different species, and there may well be. Here's somebody, I guess this is to your dog. Tell her Tup Tup is a good boy.
He is a good boy.
Is that his name?
His name is Lucky, but I call him Tup Tup.
Oh, so you know this person. Here's a question. Says, Shelley, if you ever come across a Bigfoot body, alien, or UFO crash, what would you do?
I wouldn't tell anybody. I wouldn't tell a soul.
Okay. I got to step in here. If you find a Bigfoot body, don't include me in the nobody. Because, okay, so you know me well enough by now. If you tell me not to tell anybody, you know that I don't.
I know you wouldn't tell nobody, Dave. I know you wouldn't.
But, you know, yeah, that there would be repercussions. I think if you found a Bigfoot body and went public with it and said, yeah, we found it right over here and this location, you would have such a influx of people just pouring in there. It would just be a nightmare. And I figure if you found an alien at a UFO crash, I would want to get away from there because I figure his buddies may be coming back for him.
Well, you never know with that. I mean, so, I mean, yeah.
Here's a good one. And this has been, especially up in Pennsylvania, is there discussion in MUFON and research groups about a potential link between Bigfoot and UFOs? And that is the Pennsylvania effect that Cashew is talking about there.
Mm-hmm. I've heard different theories on that. I myself, I myself, I don't believe it. I don't think there is a Bigfoot and UFO connection. So, and then again, I may be wrong, but
and it could
I
be.
mean, I I don't believe it, but then again, I don't know.
Right.
So,
it's
yeah.
I know Stan. You've heard of Stan Gordon.
Yes,
Shelley, he's the investigator. Yes. He's still active, even all the way back to the 60s. He has really investigated. There, whatever we think about it, there factually was just a large number of Bigfoot sightings that happened to correspond with UFO sightings in the state of Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even questionable. The question is, was it just a coincidence that there was sightings of both at one time? So, yeah, what the connection was, I have no idea, or if there even was a connection. Okay, here's one. You're not going to get any flack, Mr. Filthy Casual, for this, but what do you make of Bob Lazar and what he had to say about propulsion systems of UFOs, not so much his claims of having worked on one, but generally?
Put that question back up there, Dave, please.
It's about the credibility of Bob Lazar and what he says about UFOs. I think basically, do you think he's a credible witness or not? I'm
not going to answer that.
Okay. Well, I think personally, I think there's a good chance he was, and I'll say this: a lot of the things you remember at first when he went public and said, "Yeah, I worked there," they were going, "No, he never worked here, never this," and now years later, like, "Well, yeah, he worked here," just like the guy that Luis Alejandro that said he worked. He started coming out talking about this recent UFO sightings by the Navy pilots and stuff, saying he worked for this part of the Pentagon and he was in charge of investigating that. They said he never worked here. There's not any such thing. Now the government is saying, well, yes, he did, and yes, he was in charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these things, and I'm not going to put Bob Lazar in the same boat as him because I don't know that they are. But all I know for sure is watching this is there's a lot of things that they just a very few years ago they were saying that didn't happen and we don't know who that was.
Yeah.
Them now saying, well, yeah, we know him. He did work here, and yes, there was that. Mm-hmm. So I think we're living in very interesting times, and I think a lot of people looked over just how significant that little bit that they have released last year was on that.
Right.
For the government to actually publicly say, yeah, we do have those, and we have no idea what those are. It might have seemed anticlimactic, but that was a huge thing,
Yes. Well, now Dave, they call them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Right.
Of course, I'm old school. I know them as UFOs. Okay. So it's like they do exist. I've seen them. I've had several UFO sightings. That is something that I do take that very seriously, along with my Bigfooting and other things that I'm interested in. So yes.
Okay, this is to both of us, Shelley. What's the best piece of evidence you have seen or experienced that makes you believe or know that they are real? Both of you answer, please.
Are you talking about UFOs? Or
are you talking about UFOs or Bigfoot be clear on that, Will. Are you talking about Bigfoot or UFOs? Because I don't have anything as far as UFOs go.
Oh, I do though.
Yeah, well, you were in the thick of it. Yeah, I'll tell you. Back in the day with the Bigfoot thing, me and Dan, we used to think when Shelley would get to talking about the UFO stuff. Me and Dan at the time were going, man, does she work for the CIA or something?
No, no.
Well, I know we both knew you didn't, but you from being a part of that, you had. Yeah. She does have some very interesting information. Sasquatch, Will Star says. I'll let you go first.
What was the question again? Sorry. I was trying to read it.
What is the best piece of evidence you have seen or experienced that makes you believe or know that the Sasquatch are real? Both of you answer, please.
On Sasquatch, seeing is believing. I've had my sightings.
Okay.
And I've also found tracks, you know, and I had some, found some hair samples, which I think I gave to you, Dave, and you sent them in, and to come back, it was something else. It wasn't, it was.
No, you didn't give me hair samples.
I did not give you hair samples?
No. The only hair samples that I had were from the place in Western Oklahoma we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was that was when I was first there investigating with the BFRO. So that went straight to Matt Moneymaker, and I never heard anything back about that. So either it was nothing or, it was probably nothing, or, Matt they would have published something about it. So I'm assuming that was nothing. So, Will, best piece from Shelley. She's seen it, seen one, found tracks and other things like. Who did you give that hair sample to if it wasn't me?
I could have sworn out down. Dave, this was a long time ago. I could have sworn out down. No. I sent you some of it, and you sent it to one of your wildlife guys that you know. I won't say no names. And you contacted me. You had him look at it, and he said it was. It come to find out it was a skunk. So,
yeah, I think I would have remembered that. But it must not have been me.
Yeah.
But on me, my Will Star is the seeing is believing part. The summer before last, I saw what I believe to be a very small Sasquatch. It was across a creek from me at dusk, watching me from the brush. And when my eyes locked on it, it turned and took off. And it was a small, if I'm guessing how tall it was, 4 foot something, no more than 5 foot. It wasn't very big, but it was a grayish black, hair covered bipedal something with a very dark face that I could not make out any facial features. And if it had not turned and took off on 2 feet, I would have not have maybe equated it to a Sasquatch, but it was bipedal and it left on 2 feet. So that's that. Now, the other was one that Shelley and I had actually investigated, and that was the casino footage. And I seen that footage, and that was long before then. And I still remember my reaction on seeing that. I remember turning to Roger Roberts, who was the other guy that was in that security room with me at that time. And I remember turning and looking at him and saying, well, I'll be darned, they are real. Because up to that point, it was a mystery that I was very...
Sorry. That's my dog.
Sasquatch alarm.
Be right back.
Okay. And but up to that point, I had been interested in the Bigfoot mystery for a long time. But when I seen that footage, that was when it really first locked into my mind that was real. So other than the personal sighting of the smaller one in that footage. And as far as investigation is very, very real, there's been several of those. One, a live wire that was on here the time I spent on his property looking into his evidence as well. Let's see. Yeah, here's Mid-South putting his 2 cents worth on the 4 species of Sasquatch: the Genosqua, the skunk ape, the Gugwe, and the North American Sasquatch. And that's the ones he's identifying as he believes that are 4 species. So thanks for sharing that. Let's see here. let me read this. If you were to see a bear at the same time you saw an orb, would you assume the bear is an alien? It's just as illogical to make the assumption about Sasquatch. Oh, okay, I see. Back to what I was saying, if the situation up in Pennsylvania where they did have Bigfoot sightings that corresponded with UFO sightings, was that just coincidental that they just happened to be at the same time? And this gentleman here is saying that if you saw a bear the same time you saw an orb, would you assume the bear is an alien? That's a good point.
Yeah.
And
very good point.
David said maybe the aliens are secret admirers of Bigfoot for their stealth abilities. You know, David, you may have a point there. And
maybe on something there.
He may be. And here's Cashew bringing up her superpowers of finding anybody, and she's got a link there to Stan Gordon's YouTube or website, it looks like. And if anybody wants to look into that, what we're talking about up there in Pennsylvania, is check out Stan Gordon's website. You know, and I cannot believe, Shelley, I've never spoken to that fella, because I've got his books and I've read them. They're interesting.
Yes.
And he puts his phone number in his books. You could just call the guy.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I never have. I guess I'm not planning on going to Pennsylvania. So, okay. Opinion on government involvement and knowledge of existence of Sasquatch. I've got my opinion on that, and I'll let Shelley give hers. If she's
I've got my opinion on that as well. And it's like, you know, I think the government, I think they know, you know, but I mean, and so
I've in here, go ahead.
That's all I'm not going in. I mean, I could go on and on and on about that, but you know, I think they know that they do exist. I mean, look at I listened to a podcast about a forest fire. I can't remember where it was, but the forest workers, the forestry department, firefighters, they come up on a body of a Bigfoot that had been burned. So it's, you know, I mean, they know. So
yeah, my thoughts on it, and I'm not married to this thought because I know I can very much be wrong.
Right.
And I wouldn't even argue with it to defend it. But my thoughts have kind of been, if anybody really cared about the existence of Bigfoot, if they had evidence and wanted to suppress it, to me, it would always be more, the lumber companies would be more interested in suppressing it, because they would have to change their extremely destructive forestry habits if we proved the existence of that. And that's just me. Like I say, I'm not committed to that thought, but that's my thinking. Let's see here. The more time goes by, it looks more like Bob's not lying. I'm assuming you're talking about Bob Gimlin, probably. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Max. Will Star, Sasquatch, Prepper, Camper, King Jesus. Did anyone ever hear of Bigfoot? I don't know if you got here earlier, Max, but Shelley was talking about vocalizations that she had heard earlier. And and here, when you talk about here in a Curious Cryptid, Steve has pointed this out for, as well as Thomas Steenberg up there. Unless you see the said Sasquatch calling, you don't know for sure that that's what was making it. But if you got other circumstantial evidence around it, like the noises, maybe you footprints and stuff, and you hear these unidentified noises, you might have a pretty good idea that that's what's making them. And I have, from time to time, heard some pretty strange. Once down in the Kiamichi Mountains, me and my friend Brian Baker, Shelley, you met him once on an investigation long ago. we were hiking along a creek, and later that night, something threw a very large rock against a tree outside our camp, but it was pacing us in the forest up the creek bank, and it would make this weird whistling sound. It wasn't like a bird I'd heard, and we both kind of surmised that there was at least a possibility that that was a Sasquatch making it. And the historical accounts of Sasquatch actually being seen, especially long ago, the Whistling Wild Boy account that it came into a guy's camp while he was watching and it was whistling. So there is that. Let's see. Look up Sierra Sounds. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The Sierra Sounds. If those are indeed the real thing, then they are the most clear vocalizations that were ever recorded. Here we have it in Prepper Camper. He's kind of new to our channel. He's been in the last couple of shows I've done in the chat. Said, I really like this conversation on Bigfoot. It actually interests me more now than ever. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad. You know, who was it? Oh, I've got a guest for next week as well, and I cannot pronounce his name. It's a Northern Native American name, but his YouTube channel is called Yankees Outdoor Adventures, and he does some videos about Bigfoot. And he said, whether you believe it or not, if you're interested in the mystery and this gets you interested, and you get off your couch and go out in the woods, then mission accomplished. And that's you know, if we can add to the interest in it, then I feel pretty good about it.
What is that one, Dave? Yankees
Outdoor. It's called Yankees Outdoor Adventures, and he does a lot of like camping videos and stuff. But here lately, he's been doing several videos on outdoor mysteries, like in Woods Legend of Ohio and stuff where he's at. And I'm going to have him on here next Tuesday on Tuesday Night Talk. Cool. Let's see here. Anyone ever hear Bigfoot imitating a grouse thump? I can't say that I have, Max, because down here where I'm at, we do not have grouse down here in southeast Oklahoma. Let's see here. See here. Even though I've never seen a Bigfoot in the woods, I have seen 2 pterodactyls within a year apart flying towards the Ohio River. I live in Kentucky. Well, brother, if you ever see a pterodactyl, get that thing on video, because I would really like to see that video.
I believe you, Prepper. I do. Yep.
Willstar, do you have a video on that encounter, Dave? No, I do not. The encounter I'm talking about, I had just got there. I arrived at camp late, and I was unpacking my truck and unloading my gear when I caught that out of the corner of my eye. So no, I just got there. Emerald C. I keep looking in the brush behind you for a Bigfoot. Well, unless there's one in the photograph, that's my screen behind me. Now, I'm not really in the woods, but in my defense, that is a picture I took of the woods down there in the Kiamichi when I was camping. So it's not. She comes
by that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. She what?
She comes by that naturally. She gets it from me. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son, he wasn't able to make it tonight. I thought he might pop into chat. Well, guys, we've been on here for about an hour and a half. So if you guys have any other questions, pop them up there real quick, because I'm going to have to go here pretty quick and head home. But want to try to get everyone if we can. Shelley, are you drinking from that cup? From Teresa Boyer. Is that someone you know?
That's my other sister. That's her.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am, Teresa. Look here. Yeah, I am. I use this cup a lot. This is my favorite Bigfoot cup. Thank y'all very much.
Let's see. No, funny. Cashews being funny. So you're saying there's a chance that bears are aliens?
Well, no, I'm not. No.
Let's see. Ohio. Chat went up. Andy Babb. Oops, wrong one here. Andy Babb. Dave, tell us about the clearest track you have found. The clearest. I've never found one that was just perfect, like you see the cast where all the toes are just great. I found one at Mark's place, Livewire, that was in the leaf litter that you could kind of make out a little bit on the toes, but not very well. Years ago down in the Kiamichi Mountains, I found a fairly clear one, but it was still in mud. I've never found one that you could get close to having dermal ridges on. Nothing like that.
I haven't either.
Yeah, Tom, she's not going to tell you that. I can tell you that right now.
Sorry, Tom.
Nice try though. Hey, here's my theory. In Tom, I don't know how long you've been here, but I was the first one tonight to ask her a question that she would not comment on, and personally, I'm a little crushed. But anyway, let's see. Plan here, not aliens. Well, all right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up, and man, we've had a pretty good showing in chat tonight, Shelley. At one time, we had right at about 50 at one time.
Wow.
Commenting, and there'll be more people that will watch this after it's off air. And what do you think? Should we have Shelley on again sometime? Because I know there's more stuff that we didn't even scratch the surface of.
No.
And y'all might be, it don't hurt to ask and ask. You may ask her something and catch her off guard, and she just spill the beans. You never know. So,
never know.
But hey,
I've enjoyed it though.
Yeah, it's been fun. I knew it would be. Shelley was a very interesting guest.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Here's another guy. Any information is good information. Okay, Shelley, thank you very much. I've had a blast, and I think everyone else did too. Everyone in chat, thank you for taking part, offering your comments and your questions. I know, just luck of the draw, I've probably missed one or two. I do my best to get to everybody. And here's a good point too. If you have any questions that I missed or you think of later, put it down in the comments, because I can look at them and answer them later, or Shelley can look at these comments later and she can answer as well. So yes, just anything that we missed or you didn't get to ask, just ask it in the comments. And remember, as always, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe. And if you have any, get the book there. Again, Malcolm, there are people still. Here we have Tom Crabtree. Bring her back. I caught just the second half of this. So anyway,
I would be more than honored to come back. Really would. Really would.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it tremendously. I mean, it's been great catching up.
Yeah, and thank you, Dirt Naps. If I'm saying Dirt Naps, thank you very much. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate everybody for being on here and all of that. So, John, I can relate, man. That's why I did this interview. I'm in Ada at my shop where I've got better internet. there was a chance of rain tonight, and my satellite internet would have gone out in the middle of this, and I would have been very upset had I missed part of this interview. That's my buddy John Hodges down there. John, we got to get together again and go camp. Shelley, I'm gonna ask you this. I meant to earlier. My gosh,
Okay.
So this shouldn't take long.
Sure.
Tell me the exact location. No, I'm just kidding. What does your husband think of this Bigfoot and all this? Is he interested in it as you are? It's not a trick question.
He's interested. Yes, he's interested in it. But I mean, I'm like, me. I'm head over heels in it, Dave. Always have been. It's like, let's do it. Let's keep looking. I mean, it's like, my thing is that let's not kill the mystery. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it's like, let's keep it alive. Let's keep it going. Let's, I mean, and that's like, our grandkids, I mean, shoot, when they get old enough, I'm going to get them out here and it's like, we're going to go look for tracks, when they get bigger. And it's like, just keep the mystery alive.
Exactly.
That's all I can say.
Tammy Diggs, how do we donate? There's what you call in the chats, the super chats you can. And at the bottom of the videos, there's a thing called super thanks if you want to do that. So there's super chats during the live shows, and there's super thanks at the bottom of all of the videos if you choose to do so. But yeah, I agree, Shelley. Keep the mystery alive.
Keep it alive. Keep it going.
Absolutely.
I mean, because I'll make this short. Long story short, I mean, Brian. Thank you, Brian. That's it's like the Bigfoot Sasquatch mystery has been around for how long? And it's like, my thing is like, and this goes back to the science part of it and all that. And I understand people say, well, to prove its existence, you have to put it on a slab. I understand where you're coming from, but it's like, I don't believe in the $3 million bounty or that Oklahoma has or whoever it was. I can't remember. I remember the name, but I'm not saying anything. No names. But it's, it's like, leave it alone. It's like, I mean, unless it's hurting you or your family or your livestock or anything like this, it's like, let's keep looking. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you, Tammy. Absolutely. And if it makes anybody, I don't ask for anything, but when you do, this goes toward camera equipment or gas to get me back to the mountains. So I definitely appreciate it. Shelley, I must say you've been quite popular.
Thank you.
Tonight. Let's see, Strangeland. Thanks, Dave. You keep it respectful and balanced. And Strangeland, that is my goal.
Yes.
If anybody has a differing opinion about any of these mysterious things, whether I agree with it or not, I'm not going to ridicule it.
No.
Me and Shelley have talked on things. We don't have the same views on a lot of this. And we're still good friends. And personally, I like to be challenged. Challenge me. And I will always be respectful on that.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. 57, never thought the Patty film was a fake. And the Patty film, people have asked, what is it, real or is it fake? I said, if it's fake, it's fake. But if it is one heck of a good fake.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's still people putting a lot of comments on here. So I think Bigfoot are out there, but I don't want to find one. But yeah, I love the good mystery, and I would be heartbroken if somebody actually did bring a dead body of one. And
I would be too. You know, it's like, you know, it's like, but the thing, um, the thing is that, um, it's, you know, being at the right place at the right time. It could be
yep.
anytime, anywhere, or anything. So just, you know, be, you know,
Please do another show with Shelley. Loved it, and she has so much more to tell.
thank you, Tammy.
Brian, Shelley, bring Shelley back, please.
Thank you, Brian.
Many, many exclamation points. So,
Thank you, thank you.
does Shelley have a channel?
No, I don't. I don't. No.
You know what? And several people in chat I've noticed that are fairly new. I did not have a channel or do not long after Bigfootville. I pretty much, me and just a good friend of mine here, Brian Baker. I need to get that knucklehead on this show sometime. And I say that with all affection, but he is a hermit. But he and I have places we go, and we were just out of the limelight for all that. But what inspired me to start this YouTube channel was I was seeing so many stories that were about on the internet about the infamous casino footage that were just not factual at all. My intention was, you know what? I'm going to make a YouTube channel and I'm going to do one video of what that really shown. And I started enjoying it. And well, here we are. So there's Malcolm. Great show. Thanks for keeping it clean, everyone. Yeah. And I do appreciate that because I have kids that watch this channel.
Yes.
And
yes.
And I have guitar students from the store that I know are very young that pop in, and I don't want to mess that up. Here we got you need one. Oh, this is to you, Shelley. You need one, or you need to have one together, Dave. So, cashew. Yeah, and again here, cashew, good point. Send your encounter to Dave at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. Very good point. If you have an encounter with a Sasquatch or any other type of cryptid that we don't cover in here, send it to me at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. If you want that to be shared in a report on my YouTube channel, I will do so if it fits into that category. If you want to share it with me and do not want it repeated or made public, I will just put it in my files and no one will hear about it. And Shelley was very good at that too, because back in the Southern Bigfoot.com days, we took several reports from people that did not want any attention, and I have never spoke about those. So
no,
I take that very seriously.
I do too. Yes.
So
yes.
Because
privacy is very important, and it's like if someone says do not disclose anything, it's like nothing will be said. So
yeah, if you say it's well, I'm not going to use that priest in a confessional deal. That may be a poor thing now, but anyway, if you want to share your report with me, send it to me at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. It's very important. You may not think it has anything, but it may contain a piece of the puzzle that is very useful in my research on this subject. So here is keep it real, y'all, and let's not let the hoaxers continue making us look like kooks. Well, the way I deal with hoaxers is I just don't give them my time.
Don't acknowledge them.
Yeah, don't acknowledge, because they're wanting the attention. So if you're calling them out, you're giving them that attention. So yeah. So anyway, we're really going to go to 2 hours, Shelley, and people want you back. And David Purpose says this show didn't feel like 2 hours. No, it did not. And you know they never do. So tune in next week. I will be putting the link up in the next couple of days. I'm going to have and I will let this gentleman say his name. He always says it. It's what tribe is it? Seneca or something? It's he's Native American up there, and he goes by Native American name, and it's very hard to pronounce. But it's Yankees Outdoor Adventures, and I'm having him on next week. I've already spoke to him, and he's looking forward to it. And he is going to be next Tuesday night, and this is going to be a regular, guys. I'm going to be having Tuesday night talk every Tuesday, and Shelley,
Yes.
if you're around on those other interviews and stuff, pop into the chat, ask a question.
Will do.
And all of that. So, guys, good night. Thank you again. Appreciate every one of you. And you guys have a great night and take care of yourselves.
Good night. Till next time, folks. Have a great night. Thank you all very much.